Welcome back to the ADHD biography. I'm your host, John Clarkson, and on today's show, we're joined by Mireia Roberts. Hi, Mireia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thank you. So, first of all, for people that may not know you already, if you'd just like to give a little bit of background about yourself.
Yes, sure. So my name is Mireia. I'm 23 years old. I'm an ADHD UK ambassador, and I also run an ADHD project called the Flourish Femme project, dedicated to women and girls. I was diagnosed when I was 18. I have a degree in public relations and a master's in psychology. So that's my educational background, and now I work in events in London.
Amazing stuff. I'd just like to start off with, obviously, you mentioned there about you starting the Flourish Femme project. Just like to give a little bit more detail about what that's about, because I think it's something that highlights something really key with what you're doing with that.
So basically, I started it just over a year ago when I got into pageantry. Initially, it was a thing when you do a pageant to have like a social cause, something that you really care about. And for me, it was ADHD. But even without pageantry, my platform has turned into something far more important and far more deep and personal to me. So my platform, the Flourish Femme Project, you can find it on Instagram, is dedicated to women and girls with primarily ADHD, but I also call it Flourishing with Neurodiversity. I actually host live talks with other women, do Instagram lives with them. I post educational and motivational content, kind of tips and tricks how to deal with ADHD as a woman, and kind of just other educational posts. And then, yeah, I'm currently trying to expand that, trying to raise awareness. And I just feel like women and girls are really not really represented that much. And I just want to bring that to light.
And with your what you've been doing with Flourish Femme project, have you obviously you live with ADHD yourself as a woman, so you understand what it's like. But is there more things about ADHD in women that you've learned through what you've been doing through that project?
Yeah, so through my project, I've met so many other women with ADHD, and I've realized that we all have really similar traits. I mean, symptoms are different between men and women, but I never really met that many women that I kind of related to that much. And it was like, oh wow, we've kind of built a community here. I also experienced that, and I also experienced this. So it was really eye-opening to feel like I wasn't the only one, because growing up at school, I felt really different from my peers. So now getting older, understanding myself more, and chatting to other people about it, it's just really eye-opening.
What kind of traits are they, and how does ADHD show up for yourself and those women as well?
Yeah, so for me and the women I've spoken to, it really, the biggest one I would say is masking. So kind of putting on that front of everything's fine, but inside you feel like you have to mask your symptoms to just fit into the normal societal mold. And that's why ADHD isn't picked up in women a lot of the time. For me, it was never picked up. I actually took myself to get diagnosed. And also, I feel like women with ADHD, um, they don't fit into that classic stereotypical bubble of rowdy 6-year-old child with ADHD. Were much more quiet, much more well behaved at school, so it doesn't really get picked up as much. I think masking is a big, big part of it. Also, for me, I'm more of the inattentive type. Maybe that's why I was a bit more chill at school and it wasn't really picked up. And it's also just a lot of I've noticed a lot of emotional dysregulation with women as well. I feel like we feel the emotions a lot harder. I don't know if it's the same for men, but I feel like with women we do feel a lot of emotional dysregulation. So I would say masking, emotional dysregulation, and kind of more of the inattentive type for most women.
For anyone that's listening to this that doesn't know that there is three types of ADHD, the inattentive type, what would that look like? What is it that maybe things that you struggle with, certain traits that you see? What is inattentive
So
ADHD?
it's yeah. So even though so I have ADHD, but more of the inattentive type, as I said. And it's sort of things more like I struggle a lot to concentrate, like procrastinate a lot. Really, it's basically the main thing is struggling to do your daily task. There's a lot of procrastination. There's a lot of struggling to get on with things, and that's how I felt it at school. For me, I was looking at the other kids and I was thinking like, how can they get on with the schoolwork, or how can they start getting on with other things in their life? And I just feel like I'm always paralyzed, I'm always stuck. I feel like I have a lot of ADHD paralysis with my inattentive type. I just struggle to get things going. But once I do, and my hyperactive part comes in, I feel like I can really get on with the task. So for me, it's like really, for example, at university, it's like I would do my all my essays like the night before, because during the whole term I was like, no, I can't do it, I can't do it, and then I leave it to then. But then the ADHD hyperactive side pulls through, and I ended up doing it. So for me, it's just kind of the lack of concentration and getting just it's just really hard to get started with things, and procrastination is really big for me.
What is one of the biggest things that you've found that helps with that level of procrastination? Because I'm sure there's many people listening to this with ADHD that are, thinking exactly the same, that I do exactly the same, and I know that I've have struggled sometimes starting stuff as well. It's like you say about that overwhelm can be quite difficult sometimes when there's maybe so much elements of a task that you're not sure which bit to start with, so you tend to not really start, or whether it's maybe not clear instructions that you're given when you're given a task and that lead to that. But what are the biggest things for you that have helped you kind of deal with that?
Yeah, so as you said, it's the overwhelm for me that kind of paralyzes me. And I still struggle with it every day, but the things that help me is kind of I'm learning to manage my time a lot better. ADHD, of course, time management can be hard, and I've never been someone who's stuck to planners per se, even though that does help many people. But for me, to myself mentally, I'm like, okay, I'll give myself these 5 minutes and I'm going to start in these 5 minutes, and I get going. I try my best to, it's kind of like a mental game for me. It's just trying to get my mind really engaged into what I'm doing. And once I start doing it, then I just think, why was I procrastinating all of that time for? Like, it's getting started is really hard, but once you get started, it's just so much easier. And I always wish I wish I started the task beforehand.
Yeah.
And also, even though planners don't work for me per se, checklists do, like to-do lists. So if I am giving like a really overwhelming big task, I do like to break things down. And I feel like that can be way more manageable. So I do bit by bit. Because yeah, sometimes I feel too overwhelmed if I'm giving something major and I'm like, God. And then that's where the paralysis comes in, and that's where like the procrastination comes in. So yeah, I just feel like time management for me is more of a mental game, and also to-do list.
Yeah, and to-do list is a really big one. I know it's something that I've done for probably well, number of years now, especially since realizing I had ADHD. Is making lists and then also kind of ticking them off, or well, highlighting them when I've completed them, because it just kind of gives me a sense of a bit of relief, like you said, that overwhelm that you're like, oh god, this is, it's a lot. But then when you, like say, break it down, it makes it easier, and then as you can see, like when you actually ticking things off, it just kind of helps to keep you in
Yeah,
a
and it's
swing of things.
motivating as well. As soon as I click something on, I feel so motivated to keep continuing. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, definitely, it's a bit of dopamine, isn't it?
yeah.
So I'm really curious about, you said you were diagnosed at 18. You mentioned a little bit about what it was like in school for you, but then since you've gone on to university, you've gone and got a master's now, which is incredible. Well, what were the biggest differences for you between that diagnosis before and after? Like, how was it like being undiagnosed at school versus after your diagnosis and going through university and your masters?
Honestly, it's been like a rebirth. Like I say, it's like a before and after. So as I said, I really struggled during school, and I thought something isn't clicking. None of the teachers picked it up in me, or neither did my parents, but I mean, that's not their fault. I mean, I think there's a lack of awareness when it comes with any type of neurodiversity, but ADHD in women. So no one really picked it up on me. I always think I would have had a better school career per se if I was diagnosed earlier. But anywho, I did okay in school. I was an a straight A student, but I did pass all of my classes. So I kind of that's maybe a reason why I also went under the radar and undiagnosed. But then I did want to go to university, and I thought, well, I really need to figure out what really is hard for me to kind of start doing and why I can't concentrate. So I chose to do my diagnosis privately because the state of the NHS currently was the waiting list. I was like, I can't, personally, I couldn't wait at that time, especially when I was 18, going straight into uni. And as soon as I got diagnosed, and I was giving my first prescription, I was giving like instructions and stuff. I was like, life felt so different. I was like, what? And I understood so many things from my childhood that I didn't understand before, but now I do. So it's a complete rebirth. And then when I got into uni, now knowing that I have ADHD, um, I did also get reasonable adjustments at uni, which is really, really helped me. So for anyone watching, if you do plan to go to uni, do masters or study, and if you do have ADHD, please ask for regional adjustments. It would really help you out. I wish I had that when I was at school, but I had it when I was at uni, so it was good. And then knowing that I have ADHD, having it treated and being kind of like on a plan, it really helped me to do my best at uni. And I got a first in my degree, and then I did masters, so it kind of completely changed my life.
And that's amazing. And I think it really echoes what a lot of guests say about when they get that diagnosis, how much of a difference that does actually make. And yeah, completely agree with you on the state of the NHS at the moment, and that the diagnosis process there. So it's good that you had that option to be able to go privately and, like you say, get it done sooner. Whereas, if it was on the NHS, you may have even been waiting until after university, and yeah. So thankfully that worked out for you. But you mentioned there about the reasonable adjustments during university. What do those kind of adjustments look like for someone with ADHD?
Yeah, so if you ask for reasonable adjustments through, I think, Student Finance England, they do give you funding for, it depends on your needs, but I had like a tutor during uni. His name is Sebastian. And he was
Shout out
really
to
taught,
Sebastian.
yeah, shout out to Sebastian. And he, throughout my uni career, he kind of it was more like the study skills for people with ADHD. He really taught me how to break my essays down, really taught me how to do that time management. And he was kind of like a guiding line for me during uni. So that's what I needed at the time. It was great, and I learned a lot from it. And that's how I really learned to study and get to my full potential. And also with regional adjustments at my uni, I got extra time on things like exams, which very useful, and especially extra time on things like essays. I feel like with ADHD, you do take a bit more time to get things done or just think. So I feel like the reasonable adjustments and the tutoring program that I was given was great. I was also given software for my computer for like reading textbooks out loud because I struggled a lot with academic reading. Some of it can be quite heavy. So that that support program actually offered me a few different apps that kind of help during textbooks or like highlighted bits. So it's a bit of like technology as well, tutoring and the extra time. So I really, really recommend if you do have any needs, go to your university, you first have to speak to your university disability advisor, and then they will put you in contact with the service, and then they would do an assessment and see what your needs are. And because I really struggle to read off the screen, I also got a free printer out of it, and I still use it.
That's great, and
Brilliant.
yeah, it definitely sounded like it made a huge difference through your university, well, time at university, and would you say it enabled you then to go on and kind of give you that confidence to be able to go on and do the masters?
Yes, it really did. Especially in my last year, that's when I really, dissertation, it was like, oh, like really needed to study a lot, and that really, really helped me. And when I found that I got first, I was so surprised, even though I knew I put the work in, but I was still really surprised. I never thought I could get a first in university. So that's what really pushed me to then think I'm gonna go on and do a master's.
Did you go to university locally and did you stay at home, or did you move to somewhere else to do your studies?
So I went to university locally. So I went to University of the Arts London, and for the first couple years I lived with my parents because also it was COVID when um my university I did university during COVID, which is not ideal, not ideal for my first year, my second. So I stayed at home for those 2 years, and then my third year I moved out, and since I moved out, I've lived alone ever since. But yeah, so a mixture of the two.
And what was it like doing university during COVID? Obviously, it was a difficult time for everybody, but I feel like maybe someone with ADHD being told, you know, you've got to stay in that same place, and then also have to deal with, like you said, the academic texts, you know, having to read those and complete essays on deadlines and things like that. Like, how different was that learning during that time to obviously afterwards?
It was, I found it excruciating. I remember my first year, I was so excited to start. And then when it started, I was like, oh my God, it's not the same because I really appreciate like in-person lessons, and I struggled a lot with the online shift of things, and especially like all the academic text and all the PowerPoints and everything being online and focusing for hours on end, staring on our computers for like hours a day, trying to concentrate, having also no social life because it was a lockdown. It was really hard. I actually told my parents so many times, I want to drop out, I want to drop out, I want to drop out. I'm glad I didn't drop out, obviously, but at that time it was just like, it was really, I can't lie, it was really hard. And then my second year, it was when the lockdown rules relaxed, so it was like hybrid. So it was like half in, half out of uni. That was a lot better. Because I feel like when you're at uni, you also want to experience that social life, not only the academic side. So it's like when I started to get to know more people, and it was really like helpful to have face-to-face contact with my teachers and lecturers. But yeah, studying during lockdown, especially when you're confined in your room, staring at a screen for like 8 hours a day, it was not for me. I know it's not for many people, but with ADHD, I was pulling my hair out. Honestly, it was so hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. Obviously, with being more inattentive type ADHD as well, trying to just focus on that screen because it is very weird, isn't it? How much the personal element and that interaction with the person, like maybe your lecturer, will have been being able to, you know, actually sit in a lecture rather than doing it. I can imagine it was really difficult
So hard to
to stay
concentrate. It's so hard to like keep on listening to the lectures when you're in your room and you just think, oh no. Yeah.
just end up like probably zoning out and
Yeah.
yeah, just getting distracted even more, I suppose.
Yeah.
And when you was in your room and having to listen and sit there staring at one screen, was there anything that you found that was useful to help you stay focused on it all day?
Honestly, it was really hard. I mean, it was kind of like more like I had to have the willpower to push through. I think a lot of things in life are like a mental state. So for me, it was like, okay, I need to try my best, even though I zoned out at all, even though I told my parents I wanted to drop out. I had to really like talk to myself and be like, "You- I need to concentrate, I need to concentrate." And also, my parents were really supportive. Like when I went to them and I said I want to drop out, they were like, "No, keep going, keep going." So I feel like having the support from your family and also talking to my peers online, they also kind of felt the same way. So you don't feel like you're by yourself completely. You're all in the same kind of situation. And then I remember we were like on an online lecture, but then we also had our group chat, and everyone found it really hard, or everyone was like, asking questions on there. So it kind of helped me to think I'm not the only one. People are also struggling. I'm not struggling by myself. I've got my parents to support me, and then my classmates as well were going through the same thing. So I guess there's a bit of support network and kind of like willpower to just get going.
And with the groups that you obviously with your peers, was that like a WhatsApp group, or was it something like you guys had set up yourself, or was it through the university that set up?
No, so the WhatsApp group we set up ourselves. So we got onto our first online lecture, I remember, and everyone just dropped their number in the chat. And then we made a WhatsApp group, and that's how I got to know my friends at uni through a WhatsApp group chat. And then when it came to the lockdown rules lifting, we all met up, and it was like, oh my God, I've seen you online for like a year. Now we can finally be friends, like proper friends in person. And it's something that we did set up, even though the uni did set up like obviously the university society set up like their own kind of group chats and stuff, and they set out and so I didn't have like the normal freshers experience, so they did like online events and stuff. So I tried to join as much as possible, and from those online events, you also got added to group chats, and I feel like how I got through my first year of uni was through WhatsApp group chats and connecting with other people. Because if I was just alone in my room talking to no one, I would have found it truly really hard.
Yeah, and it's amazing that we've got that technology now to be able to stay connected. And some I think it's something that we obviously take for granted a lot, but a lot of people like yourself were locked in, and it was their only means of communicating with people. So having that as a obviously, whilst it's not a substitute for the human interaction, as you say, the having that and is was it sounds like it was really good to get you through and and just stay connected to the outside world during a time when, well, you essentially in isolation, really.
Yeah, honestly, it helps so much. And also social media helped a lot. Once you got into the WhatsApp group chats, everyone's like, "What's your Instagram? What's your Instagram?" And like, "What's your TikTok?" At the time, like TikTok at the time was really popular. And it was kind of that was like my social interaction when we were all locked up. And I feel like it really does help because we do need human connection in some sort of way or another. So I'm so glad I had that. That kind of did push me through my first year of university a lot.
COVID seems like it was a lifetime ago now, but it was really what, only 5 years ago. It
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
really
it's
isn't
quite
that
recent.
long. So it is very recent, and it's still something that you don't necessarily consider. Like when you mentioned university, I didn't even consider the fact that when you started university, it was during that time. Because you just kind of assume that everyone has the same sort of experiences and things like that. So it's really interesting to hear how that was for you and having to kind of do that online, but then still work your way through and end up coming out with a first. So yeah, that's really a really big thing. So really well done. To hats
Thank
off to you
you.
because yeah, I mean universities can be difficult at the best of times. So in those situations as well, being able to overcome that. Especially dealing with ADHD as well, and I suppose just finding out a bit more about yourself as well, just having been diagnosed. I can imagine that it was an awful lot for you.
Yeah, it really was. So I got diagnosed just before lockdown. So, I mean, thank God I got diagnosed just before, because otherwise it would have been a very difficult experience. But so it was kind of like my first year of trying to figuring out who I am. It completely changed my life, the diagnosis. Honestly, I always say it's like a rebirth. It's a before and after. Everything makes a lot more sense, and you kind of change your way of thinking and how your outlook on life for me changed a lot. And things I thought I always thought I was lazy, or like I always had very negative thoughts towards myself, and then I just think actually no, it's just I have ADHD and my brain isn't wired to be in neurotypical society.
And obviously, you mentioned earlier about your parents didn't spot the ADHD in you. Uh, I mean, does that sound right? Your parents didn't,
Yeah.
recognize your ADHD, and in school, they didn't either. What actually led to your diagnosis? Was there like a certain period of time that highlighted it more than than previously, or how did you actually realise that you had ADHD?
So for me, it was not a specific event, but just my time during school. So in primary school, I really struggled because, first of all, I'm originally born in Spain and I was raised in Spain. So I moved to the UK, not really speaking English. Me and my dad's Welsh, but I'm not really speaking English. So I went through primary school trying to learn the language, trying to fit in. Just like when you move countries, it's like really hard. So that was really hard. And then once I got used to everything of that, I was like, oh my God, I'm really also struggling with the schoolwork. And then I think it's mainly during secondary school and when I was doing my GCSEs, when I realized, yeah, I'm really, really struggling. But maybe I thought, in secondary schools, you do have to do subjects that you don't really like. So for me, I was never really that passionate about like maths and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, maybe it's just that I'm not interested in because I really excelled in like the things like arts and creative things like that. So I was like, I'm fine with this. Maybe I just don't like that. But when I finished secondary school, I went on to do um, a diploma in fashion design, which is what I always wanted to study. And even I found that really, really hard. So I was like, I don't think it's the school, I think it's me. And I was like, I've always been wondering, there is like a piece of a puzzle that's missing. And I was the one who took myself to the psychiatrist and I said, I need answers for myself.
And that's amazing that you had that self awareness to kind of realize and also do something about it as well. Because a lot of people, especially before diagnosis, do feel like there is some sort of difference that you just can't quite put your finger on.
Yeah.
So to be able to realize that and then also do something about it, whereas I think maybe a lot of people in that situation might be a little bit worried about going to see somebody and explaining that, because often you hear about a lot of the time people before diagnosis, like you said earlier about masking. A lot of people will mask to try and fit in, as just as a
Yeah.
automatic kind of uh, you know defense mechanism, I guess, just to try and feel like fit in and feel normal, if there's such a thing. So yeah, being able to recognize that and do something about it, and it sounds like it's made the world a difference for you as well.
Yeah, truly. Obviously, before I went, I did research
Mm.
into it and standard Google research. Since symptoms came up, you do the classic, do I have ADHD test on Google? All come back saying yes. And I was like, you know what? I think this is what I have. I think this is what's currently in my situation. So I did research it for a few months before I went to the psychiatrist, but I thought I need to advocate for myself, especially as a woman. I need to advocate for myself. I need to advocate for what I feel like I need, especially going into uni. So I thought I'm just going to go for it.
And following your diagnosis, did you have the option for medication? Did you go down that route, or?
Yeah, so immediately I went down the medication route. And for me, medication is something I struggle with. During my university career, I was on medication. But after I finished my degree, I thought, "Oh, I don't need it anymore. Like, it's fine." And also, the ADHD medication does give you a lot of side effects. So for me, it made me more anxious, and someone who already has anxiety, that did not help. So at the beginning, ADHD medication was really, really helpful. But as the years went on and the dose kept increasing and my anxiety kind of got worse, I thought, look, I finished university, this is maybe not for me. I think I can handle ADHD without medication, that's fine. And then I went into my master's and I struggled. So I was like, let me get back on it. And I tried, like, I'd say, the 5 different types of medications. And the one I recently tried when I did my master's, or just a bit before that, it really didn't help at all. It went the complete opposite way. So I thought, you know what, no, I'm just going to stay unmedicated. So I have not been on medication in the last couple, actually, I'd say over a year now. More, I haven't been on medication. But actually now I do want to go back on it because I do think it does really help. It's just I think for me at my time, I was giving a really, really high dose that didn't suit my needs. But I want to go back. talk to a doctor about it and see what I can do. Maybe a lower dose is more helpful for me. But I also have navigated life unmedicated for many years. So of course you can not be medicated and you'll be absolutely fine. But I just feel with just being an adult and so many responsibilities, and I'm really struggling to like get things done. I talked to my GP recently about getting medication, and it's actually been a really tough process because I went private. It's so hard to go from private back to the NHS, and I can't go to private at the moment. It's just too expensive for me. So I'm trying to deal with the NHS right now, and it's a mission.
Difficult process, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I can fully attest to that. What was the biggest kind of positive that came from the medication? Was it like a specific thing that really helped you do, like organizing or focusing, or was it just a mixture of things?
I would say the biggest thing is kind of like I would take the medication and then like it would kick in like in 5 minutes, and you kind of like wake up and be like, okay, start of the day, here we go. Like I really got things done. I really focused a lot. So for me, it was because I was so inattentive. I have, yeah, as I said, an attentive type. So to me, it was the focusing and the just getting things done and like studying, and I could study better. I could study for longer, and that's what really helped with me medication, and also kind of also daily tasks. I feel like for many people with ADHD, daily tasks can also be overwhelming. Like, piling up the dishes, doing the laundry, all of that. It just piles up, especially when you're busy. But when I was on medication, I feel like I could do a lot more. Yeah,
Yeah, did it kind of reduce that feeling of overwhelm? I know there's like just thinking about a couple of tasks that you mentioned there, and saying about how you was able to study for longer. I know that because I use a computer for like what most people do now for work, and sometimes can be sat there all day, there pretty much all day staring at a screen, and it can be quite difficult to maintain that level of focus just on that screen. A bit like what we talked about earlier in your lectures. But for me, when I do that and have to do that, whilst I can do it, it feels like it takes a lot more energy to be able to do that. And in even like the day to day stuff, as you said, when it comes to just the dishes or things like that, it can take a lot of mental energy to just stick to one thing. Like often I'll find myself I don't know, starting the laundry. Like I'll put it all in, but will forget to turn the machine on because maybe I've spotted something on the floor and I need to hoover. So then I'll start hoovering and switch to that. So
same,
it does
yeah.
take a lot of mental energy to actually kind of stick to one task. Is that what, like, did the medication when you was on that, did it
Yeah,
help
that's
with that?
yeah, absolutely. That's the main thing that medication helped me with. It's just when you're on it, you kind of just feel like, okay, time to go, time to get things done. And it also gives you some like mental clarity because I feel like as someone with ADHD, loads of racing thoughts, loads of
Mm.
overwhelm. It kind of reduces that as well, so it kind of makes it easier to get tasks done, um, both academically and like things at home. So yeah, it does really, really help. But I got to the point where obviously it's great. It did really help, but sometimes in your life, maybe you're not with the correct medication or on the correct dose. And then I started to realize I would crash out a lot in the evenings. I'd feel really tired afterwards, and those and it would give me a bit of anxiety. And those symptoms were the ones that made me think I'm gonna be off medication for now. I think medication is such a big journey for everyone with ADHD. Like it's so different for everyone. What works for me might not work for someone else with ADHD. I also have a friend who she was on this medication and it's great for her, brilliant, but I tried it and it did not work for me at all. So it just really depends. But overall, I do think it's useful, but I do think, and it's a tool to help with your ADHD. It's not something I think it's absolutely necessary to have, but it is useful, but it is definitely a journey to get to the right medication with the right dose. Yeah, which can be hard, especially with dealing with the NHS and doctors. But yeah,
Yeah, and it's what you've said there is what I hear from a lot of people about, medication being a almost like a personal journey, and it's
Yeah.
I find it I don't know if it's bizarre is maybe the right word, but because I don't think there's any other condition where you get medication that has such a range of different effects on people. Like really, it seems really varied. I've heard people who's had similar experience to you that the side effects just don't outweigh the pros of it. Some people where it just didn't even do anything. So yeah, it's just a real mixed bag. So it's like really hard to obviously being myself going through that diagnosis process at the moment. When I'm finally diagnosed, it's still a question that's in my mind of do I go down the medication route or do I not? Because I think there's, like I say, a mixed bag of both good and bad. So it's trying to weigh it up. But by the sounds of it, it's certainly something that I probably should try. Do you think?
I think yeah, I agree. I personally think anyone currently in your situation or who's currently getting a diagnosis and thinking about medication is something you should try because why not? It does help. It might really change your life. It has really changed mine and it has helped a lot of people. But it is definitely a personal journey. It might not work straight away. It might not be for you. But if you don't try, you never know. So I think definitely try.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind for when I actually get there, as we say about the NHS. But yeah, so obviously from your diagnosis to university to your masters, um, it's all been an upward journey. So where is that journey going for Mireia?
So now I'm in, I guess, my career journey. Just graduated last year, and I can't lie, the job market has been really, really tough. So, and also someone with ADHD, I'm like, oh, I want to do so many different things. Like one day I'm like, I want to do this job, then the other day I want to do this. So it's really hard. And now it's kind of figuring out what I do want to do long term wise. I mean, I do currently have a career like in events, which I really like. But I'm also starting to look at the future as well of what else do I want to do. And at the moment, I'm just really like confused with myself. I'm just kind of searching for who I am. Really like I'm only 23 as well, so I'm like I don't really know. And people change career paths all the time. So for me now is I've got my degrees, all good. I started my first job, but now I am starting to like plan ahead, which can be really tricky, especially when you have ADHD and you want to do so many different things. But it's kind of just a personal journey with that currently.
Yeah, and it's it's interesting you say that because I feel like with you saying that, I can very much when I was your age, it's 10 years ago now, Jesus. But yeah, I was very much the same thought as you when I was that age, and I could never really found a certain thing that I wanted to do, even after my doing my degree and things like that. I tried my hand at so many different things because I think with ADHD, we are generally quicker learners. We can adapt really well, whether that's through masking or other things. So yeah, so having been on a bit of a journey myself throughout my career and trying my hand at different things, I know how difficult it is to really nail down that one thing that you really want to do. I suppose the only advice that I can give from I feel like an old man now giving advice and wisdom, I guess. Yeah, is just finding something you're passionate about because as you know with ADHD it's very easy to switch off and get kind of bored of stuff and then you procrastinate. But yeah, for the biggest thing for me is just finding something you're passionate about, because then when everything is what you're having your bad moments or you're kind of struggling with your ADHD for a period of focusing and things like that, if you have that passion, that will keep you going and keep you engaged. So that's the only
Yeah.
thing that I
No,
can.
that's really good advice. And that's what I'm trying to figure out right now because I'm passionate about so many different things, but
Yeah,
I need to stick to one. My God, like yesterday I had a conversation with a friend. We're always like, oh, we're going to start this business, then we're going to do this, then we're going to do that, then we're going to move countries and start another job. And it's just very, it's like
like
we're just
overwhelming.
searching a lot. Yeah, it's very
So much
overwhelming.
choice. Yeah, it feels like there's so much choice, but there's like it's that overwhelm again, isn't it? Of just too much choice. Unfortunately, nobody goes, okay, you're really good at this. You do this, which yeah, I know. I felt like I was kind of waiting for many years, but no, it never happens. You just have to figure it out for yourself, unfortunately.
School, so many people have it clear, and that's great for them. So many people say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a psychologist, and they already have it clear from the start. I've never been that person. I've never had anything like clear. I always wanted to be 100 million different things. I told my parents when I was growing up, "Oh, I want to be an air hostess, I want to be a fashion designer, I want to do this, I want to do that." I feel like I'm still like that. Still want to do so many things.
Yeah, and I was always the same as well. I think started out me being wanting to be like an archaeologist, to then like a football manager, to then something else. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. Unfortunately, I think when you find your thing, you know. Yeah, that's the only thing I can say really.
Yeah,
I'm,
that's
I'm
good. That's good.
I'm sure, like with all the different stuff you're doing, I'm sure that you'll definitely find like your thing in the not too distant future for sure. And I look forward to seeing that where that goes and everything.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be a journey, but yeah.
Yeah. And if people want to follow your journey, where can they find you?
So you can find me on my personal Instagram, Mireia.Roberts, or you can also follow my ADHD journey at the Flourish Femme project. I guess you can, if you want to look at my career and my studies and what I do and stuff, LinkedIn, Mireia Roberts.
Brilliant, yeah, and I'm sure people, well, hopefully connect with you after this, and whether they're going through university or masters as well. I think it'd be really good for them to reach out to you and just get a bit of advice from you. Thank you a lot, Mireille, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. Yeah, look forward to following your journey and see where it leads to.
Well, thank you so much for having me. My first podcast has been a great experience, and yeah, I've really enjoyed it.